Want to give a shout out to all of my patrons. Thank you so much for all of the continued support. Hey everybody, so it is the last day of the month, and that means it is time for my May recap video, and today I have 5 exciting big announcements for you that you do not want to miss. I'm also going to go over my channel and reading stats, recaps of the books that I read, and then finally, as always, go over the books that have been sent to me in the past month. So let's start with announcement number 1, and that means we now have some merch. I've got a merch store. Check out the link down below. A lot of coffee mugs. Here is an example of one. This is the one that my wife got, and she likes drinking out of my face, which kind of feels a little bit strange to me, but that's her prerogative. But yeah, got a bunch of different mugs with a bunch of different designs and a bookmark. Might add some more stuff in the future, but check that out. And any support you put in there would be super appreciated. And if you get it, please send me a picture. I always get an enjoyment out of that. There's a Discord channel where people have been sharing a lot of merch pictures. So yeah, if you get it, check that out. Announcement number 2 is I have added a very unique new tier to my Patreon channel. So if you're not familiar with Patreon, that is a way that you can support me monetarily and you get a bunch of benefits. There's a lot of different tiers. I won't go into all the benefits, but in general, you can suggest books that I'll read. I'll do a raffle, and if you win, then I have to read that book. I do a vote on a book that I'm going to read in the next month. You get your name in the beginning of the end of all my videos and other things like that. But this new tier is something that I've never seen on BookTube before. Maybe it exists, but I don't know that it does. And this is called the Librarian tier. And in this tier, in the first month, immediately upon signing up, I send you any coffee mug of your choosing. Then every 3 months, I will buy you and send you a book that I have picked to curate it to your tastes. So I'll go look at your Goodreads account if you have one, and I'll take a lot of time and research it and try to figure out something that I kind of know that you're going to like that you haven't read before. And if you don't have a Goodreads account, that's totally fine. I'll ask you a series of questions, maybe have you fill out a little bit of a form and then have some back and forth with you, and finally pick out one that you'll enjoy. I'll surprise you with it. You'll know when it's going to come, but you don't know what it's going to be. And when you get it, we'll talk, and I'll tell you why I picked it for you, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts about it when you're done with it, and so it can help inform me for 3 months down the line when I buy you another one. And it doesn't matter where you live, internationally, it doesn't matter. And yeah, if I can get it for the right price point, I've done some hardcovers picked out for people. So yeah, really fun and unique, and I'd love you to join. Check out the Patreon account. There's a link down below in the description. So announcement number 3 has to do with my Discord channel. So start out with, you got to join the Discord if you haven't. You're only getting, half or less of the amount of content that you are missing out on and the fun of this channel if you're just watching my videos. Join the Discord. It is the fastest growing adult fantasy Discord around. This past month, it grew an astounding 300 people. It was at 667, and now we're at 971 at the time of this recording, and undoubtedly it's much higher than that. It is really blowing up. I'd love for you to join, but the exciting part about the Discord channel that I want to announce is I have now teamed up with 3 other booktubers, 3 of my absolute favorite booktubers. And I'm not just saying that. I love these guys. I watch all their stuff, and in general, I don't watch a lot of booktube content. I know that seems really weird, but I don't. These are 3 of my very favorites, and those 3 are Books with Benghis Khan, Shelf-Centered, and Dan Explores Books. They have an area of my Discord that they're curating on their own. So I'm hosting their kind of channel within mine, and I might add more down the line, but I'm not just like opening it up to anybody. I really want the people that I really vibe well with and that I really enjoy their content and that I can vouch for. And I can definitely say for these 3 channels that I vouch for them. And if you haven't subscribed to their channels, check the description. A lot of stuff in the description this month, but check it out and definitely give them subscribers. They very much deserve your support. I love their stuff. Next, announcement number 4 is I am doing a fan collaboration video, and I need your help. I want you to send me a video. So you may have seen it, because it's my biggest video that I've ever done by far, where I asked 50 plus different fantasy booktubers what their favorite fantasy series is. I did one before that about what your favorite book is, but I'm doing something different now. I want fans to send me a video of their favorite book. And I'm going to put a video out and it can't be booktubers. It's just regular people that watch the channel, and I think it'd be really fun. I want some, and I've already started getting some submissions, and it's great stuff that I would have never thought I would have gotten. It's really fun. You don't need to have any kind of professional equipment. Just shoot it on your phone if you want. You can be outside, inside, walking around somewhere if you want. Don't care about audio quality. Just shoot it and send it over to me. Don't worry about anything else. Needs to be around a minute long. It's okay if it's a little shorter or a little bit longer. Duplicates from other people's choices is totally fine. Just put your thoughts out there and send it to me, to my email, mattsfantasybookreviews@gmail.com. I will also put that link down in the description. But please send me your stuff. I want to make that sometime in the near future. And my last big announcement for this video is that I am doing my first buddy read. I am going to be hosting on my Discord channel a large collaboration of different people that are going to be reading The Lies of Locke Lamora at the same time. I have already read this book, but I can't stop thinking about it and I want to read it again. I'm probably going to start doing these buddy reads on a monthly basis. And the way this works is I'm giving a lot of heads up, so it's going to start on June 21st, plenty of time to get the book. And we're going to have tons of people in the Discord talking about their read-through as we go along. I don't know exactly how often we're going to check in, maybe on like a chapter-by-chapter basis. Just a big kind of collaboration, discussing things in a group, like a little book club. So if you've read this book, come join anyways. I'd love for you to read again. Or if you've already read it and you just want to talk about it, we'd love to have you too. And if you haven't, especially for you, come and join. And one suggestion is, this is like one of the top 2 or 3 best fantasy books to listen to on audiobook. So if you're an audiobook listener, check this one out for sure. It's amazing. So I'd love to have you join the Discord for more information, but go get Lies of Locke Lamora and join up with that. So before we cancel out this beginning part of the video, everybody likes to know what kind of video games I'm playing. I play a lot of video games, but over the past month, I played a handful of games. I played Do Not Feed the Monkeys, which is like this dystopian, like you're spying on people in the future kind of game. It's pretty fun. I played Ace Combat 7, and all these are on PC. Awesome, fun game. Madden 23, I just love Madden games. Big football guy. Did another run-through of Cuphead and the DLC for that, The Delicious Last Course. And right now I am playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and N++. I've been playing the N games for the past couple decades. I'm obsessed with them, and I love this newest iteration of it. So, let's now talk about the channel and reading stats. So for this month, I read 11 books. That's up 1 from last month. I read 4,800 pages or thereabouts, and that's down a little bit. I read about 5,000 last month. So far this year, I've read 45 books, and that puts me on track for about 105. And 100 is my target, so yeah, excited about that. For pages this year, I am at a little over 24,000, and that puts me on track for 59,000. My target's 50,000, so I'm way above that. So maybe my target should be 60,000. Don't know if I'll get there, but we'll see. And now my average score for this year is an all-time low. It's at 3.56 because I've had a lot of DNF ones, but this is up a little bit, and this is up 0.03 from the previous month. So for this month, I had 104,000 views. This is up 13,000. 13,000 hours were watched on my channel, and that's up 2,000, and about 1,000 new subscriptions, and that's up about 350. For my top 3 videos in this month that people watched, so the number 1 by a long shot with 18,000 views is the top 10 best fantasy series, my 2023 update. The number 2 at about 12,000 votes is the top 10 worst popular fantasy books I've read. And the number 3 video at about 7,500 is a video that I made back in March, but it's still getting a ton of views. And that is my favorite fantasy series of all time, according to 50+ booktubers. And this one actually has gotten hit the algorithm again or something, because I've gotten more views on this month than I did the previous month. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but you never know what's going to happen with YouTube. So now let's talk about the books that I read this month. The first one was Magician Master. This is the second book in the Rift War saga by Raymond E. Feist. I predicted that I give it a 4, and I gave it a 4.5. My predicted finish was on May 2nd, and I finished it a day early on May 1st. And yeah, I really like this one. It's really good. It's kind of a tale of two halves. Like, the first half of the book was a different direction that I kind of thought it'd go, or that I really wanted it to go. I understand why it did it, but yeah, I didn't vibe with it, but the second half was magnificent. Like top tier stuff. Because of the first half stuff, I couldn't really give it an overall 5 score, but really liked it, really loved it. And, you know, there's something special about this Rift War Saga series. And, you know, so many people, more than any other series I've read, they told me, you know, this is the series that got me into fantasy reading. And that's really cool that I'm getting to read this, going back and finding out something that so many of you that is dear to your heart. And I've heard from a lot of people that are now reading it for the first time that are agreeing and saying, Matt, this is a gem, and it's better than it has any rights to be for when it was written. So yeah, check that one out if you haven't. The next one I read was The Lesser Devil. This is the first novella in the Sun Eater series by 𝐿. I predicted I'd give it a 4, which is a very high score for me because I don't really like novellas, and I did give it a 4. It's my favorite novella that I've ever read. I don't know if I've ever given novella a 5. Hopefully I will someday, but I like longer stuff. I predicted that I'd finish it on May 3rd, and I did finish it on May 3rd. You know, this book had a lot of action to it. It told a story that I really wanted to hear about a character that I didn't feel like I got enough information about in the first Sun Eater book, and that I felt like is not going to be talked about anymore. So I loved being able to just go back, get another story from this character, figure out where they've been since I saw them last. And yeah, just a refreshing, fun book. It had a weird kind of religious segment in it that I didn't really vibe with, which is kind of the reason that I held back the score from being higher. Then I read my first dud of the month, and that was City of Stairs. This is the first book in the Divine Cities trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett, and I predicted that I'd give this a 2, and I did give it a 2. And I predicted I'd finish it on May 4th, and I did finish it a couple days early on May 2nd. And yeah, I did not like this book. I didn't really like it at all. It started out really promising. It had a really interesting premise about these gods that have died, and they kind of ruled over this one, you know, city, and now they're gone. And now other people have taken over this city and subjugated their people, and there's an investigation going on about trying to figure out a death that's happened, and as they uncover things, they start to find out that maybe the gods aren't actually dead. That's a really fun, unique concept that I've never read before, but the execution of it just lacked. You know, I didn't love the characters, the plot just took a weird meandering tone to it, and yeah, I just couldn't connect with it, and I really didn't like the style of writing, and I had to drop the series after that. I don't want to compel myself to read something that I'm not really going to enjoy. Then I read Forge of the High Mage. This is the 4th book in the Path to Ascendancy series by Ian C. Esselmont. This is like in the Malazan world, but an offshoot of it. I predicted that I'd give it a 5 because I gave the previous 2 books in the series a 5, but I ended up giving it a 4. I also predicted I'd finish it on May 8th, and I did get that exactly right. Finished it on May 8th. And yeah, this was fun. It told a story that I did not expect, but that's kind of true for all Malazan stories. I never know where they're going to go. It told an interesting tale about what's going on in the northern continent that I didn't know anything about. And yeah, it had some fun aspects to it. There was a couple plot lines. You know, Malazan's usually structured by having a handful of different plot lines that you're bouncing between, and they kind of weave together as it goes along, and then really weave together in the end. You know, it didn't have that wow moment to it that I'm used to, and a couple of the plot lines didn't really work for me. A couple of them really did, so I liked it, and I'm really excited to continue on with the series. But yeah, a little bit of a step down from the previous 2, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, it is a bad thing, but it's not a horrible thing. Then I read The Black Tongue Thief. This is the first book in the Black Tongue series by Christopher Buehlman. I predicted that I'd give it a 5. I felt very confident that I'd give it a 5, but I ended up giving it a 4. I predicted I'd finish it on the 12th, and I finished it one day later on the 13th. And this was another one that was a tale of two halves, because the first half of this book was amazing. I loved everything about it. The writing was so good. I loved this kind of gritty type writing that was also rather humorous, kind of tongue-in-cheek in a lot of it. Awesome stuff. But the second half, the plot just kind of meandered, and I didn't like any of the direction that it went. It's a fun tale, though, about a thief. Obviously, it's called The Black Tongue Thief, that gets wrapped up in having to go on a quest that he doesn't necessarily want to go on, but he has to if he wants to keep his life. Really witty writing. I am definitely going to keep going on in the series and kind of hope that it returns to the greatness that the first half had. But I'll probably, I'm not. It's definitely not going to be like the most anticipated read that I'm going to have for a year, but I will definitely pick it up on day one whenever it comes out. Then I read How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It. This is the second book in the Siege trilogy by K.J. Parker. I predicted that I'd give it a 5 because I loved the first book and gave it a 5, and I did give this one a 5. Predicted I'd finish it on May 13th, and I flew through this one and finished it on May 7th. And yeah, this is awesome. This is such a fun story about this actor that's in a city that's being besieged, and turns out that he needs to, that the king has died, or whatever the ruler is called here, and he gets hired by like the inside council of this government to pretend to be the ruler, because it would be very bad if the people found out that he died while a siege is going on. So he has to pretend that he's the king. And there's so many fun hijinks that happen in this. And he, is he going to decide to, go along with things? Is he going to want to do things his own way or be a puppet? Does he want to overthrow the people that are telling him to do this? Does he want to just be a good person and get along? So many fun things about this. The writing is just so top-notch. I loved every direction this took, and I just cannot wait to read the third and final book in this trilogy. Then I read The Wolf. This is part of the Under the Northern Sky series by Leo Carew. This was the Patreon choice on the raffle. I was not excited about reading this because I'd never heard of it before. I predicted that I'd give it a 3 out of 5, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. Predicted I'd finish it on May 16th. I went a little slower here and finished it on May 18th, but that's because I really wanted to take in the greatness of this book. This is the best book that I read this month. It's by far the best surprise that I read of a book this month, and it is just absolutely wonderful. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this book. It just rocks from beginning to end. I love everything that happened here, and I cannot wait for the next one to come out. It's out. I can't wait to read it. I'm going to read it like in a month or two. The whole trilogy's done. I think the last one of the trilogy came out like last year. Yeah, I don't get why more people aren't talking about this. It's this wonderful story about this kid who becomes the leader of a country after his father dies, and he has to try to fight against the enemies that are fighting against them, while also trying to hold off a civil war by the people that do not want him to be in charge because he's too young and inexperienced. It's just a brilliant political fantasy with awesome action sequences, just perfect from beginning to end. Then I read The Last Wish. This is the first book in the Witcher series by 𝐒𝐨𝐵𝐻𝐿. This is a series of short stories, and I normally don't like that kind of stuff, so I predicted I'd give it a 4, and I gave it a 4. I also predicted that I'd finish it on May 20th, and I finished it way early on May 12th. And yeah, this is good. I love the video games a lot, especially Witcher 3. And I think my love for them really helped me like this a lot more too, because I was already used to the world and what's going on. The game is a lot of little short stories, so it felt like this book was a perfect, tie-in to this game. And it was just a delightful little stories. Nothing just blew me out of the water. It wasn't like crazy thought-provoking, but they're all really fun little twists on classic stories. I just loved it. And I can't, I'm really excited to read the next short story collection, and I'm very worried about going into the longer series. So the way this works is there's 2 short story collections, and then there's a few like full-size novels. And I don't know what I'm going to get out of these novels, because I hear a lot of people say that the novels are a big step down. I hear a lot of people say the novels are way better than the short stories. So hopefully I am in that category, and I will love them for what they are. Then I read The King Beyond the Gate. This is the second book in the 𝐒⁴ saga by David Gemmell. I predicted that I'd give it a 4, just like I gave Legend, the one before this, and I ended up sadly giving it a 3. I predicted that I'd finish it on May 28th, and I finished it on May 21st. And this is the most disappointing book that I read this month. And it's disappointing because I just really felt like it was going to be a better book than it was. And I didn't end up doing a review of this book, even though I finished it, and that's rare for me, but I didn't feel like I had a lot to say. I mean, it felt just so similar to Legend. It was different, but way too similar, but everything worse. I mean, it just, nothing captivated me. I didn't love these new characters. And the only thing this really had going for it from my perspective, and it is a big selling point, is I am entranced by this world and the world building going on. What's clearly happening in this 𝐒⁴ saga is these books are not ever going to be told, and I don't even know if they're going to be chronological, but they're not telling like sequel stories. It's taking place, like this one takes place like 100 or so years after the first one, and we're going to see these huge jumps with new characters that really get this grand scope in the world that I didn't know I was so desperate for. It's an amazing concept. It takes a lot of guts to pull it off, and I love that I'm getting to read a series that is doing that. I'm just going to hope that we get back to books that I'm really enjoying, because yeah, this one just was not amazing. Then I read The Way of Shadows. This is the first book in the Night Angel series by Brent Weeks. Brent Weeks is more popularly known as the author of the Lightbringer series, a series that I rather liked. And I did not give a prediction on the score or when I'd finish this because I got to this early and I didn't think I was going to be able to read this many books, but I did. Sadly, I gave it a 1 star, did not finish. Finished it on May 27th. I hated everything about this. I wanted to finish it so I can give you a review, but I ended up quitting at like the 30% mark, which is not enough for me to give a review. And that would be very disingenuous for me to do that. But yeah, it's just so boring. I mean, it's just god-awfully boring to me. Now, maybe the series gets a lot better as it goes along. Maybe even that book gets a lot better as it goes along. But what I read was putting me to sleep while I was driving, and that is dangerous. I don't want that, because I was doing this in audiobook, and I don't think that if I read the physical book that it would have been much better. The characters just seemed very dull to me. The plot was just so nothing happens. The action that does happen was just weak to me. In general, I don't really like assassin stories unless there's not a lot of assassinating going on, like Assassin's Apprentice. But it's just not a trope in fantasy that I enjoy, and this one just was badly executed. So, yeah, cannot recommend Night Angel to anybody, and it's the worst book that I read this month. And then finally, I read The Last Light. This is the 5th book in the Wandering Inn series by Pyra Abba. I predicted that I'd give it a 5, and I did give it a 5. I also predicted that I'd finish it on May 29th, and I'm finishing this up today. By filming, I actually haven't finished this. I'm going to finish it up. I filmed this like the night before, so tomorrow morning, but I only have a little bit to go, and clearly I'm going to give this 5 because I love it. The Wandering Inn is a lit RPG, so think video gamey with like classes and leveling up. It's a progression fantasy where these characters are like getting more powerful as it goes along. It's kind of a mix of slice of life and epic and kind of horror aspects all in one, which is insane that it does so much. The scale is so grand. I mean, you get all these different characters from different continents, hear these different stories that are getting weaved together. It's just a magical series that I don't understand why more people in the fantasy community aren't into this. It's a very widely popular series, but in a very niche crowd, and I think it needs much broader appeal, and I hope more booktubers will take my cue and read this. But it's very daunting for people, I feel like, because it's so long. It's by far the longest fantasy series of all time. It grows at an unprecedentedly fast pace, so it's overwhelming, I think, to most people to get into something they know they're probably never going to be able to catch up on. But just do it, get into it. If you never catch up, who cares? Enjoy the ride. So now it's always time for that moment where I go over the books that have been sent to me this month. Whenever an author reaches out to me, which is all the time, it happens to all booktubers, but they reach out and they say, Matt, I want you to review my book. I always say no. I will not. I don't want to be biased by any means about reading books that are sent to me for free, and I just don't have time to fit it into my schedule. So I'm honest, but I say if you want to send me a copy, I will show it off in my monthly wrap-up video, and I'll read the back cover. If the back cover is long, I'll only read a portion of it, and to help promote you a little bit, and most people take me up on it. So let's start this off. I've got a big stack here, and the first one is called Junk World. This is the Ballad of Leroy Brown. This is by M.K. Strangland Jr. I got a very funny note from this man, and I got to read it to you. I normally don't get notes in my books, but I got to check this. You got to read this one. Matt, for pronunciation purposes, my name is said Strangland. i.e., no R in the name. This letter may seem an odd note, but I can't tell you the number of times people have found a way to add an R to my last name. I've taken to joking that there is a pirate haunting my family. R. Thank you for receiving and the mention. By M.K. Strangland. So, that's entertaining. Let's read the back cover together, shall we? Junk World, a planet for discarded machines. Fresh off his latest victory, it is here the champion fighting robot Leroy Brown inexplicitly finds himself certain his presence on Junk World is a mistake. Leroy makes it his mission to go home. Enter the Top Dog, a tyrant determined to conquer all of Junk World. The Top Dog demands Leroy's capture for reasons known only to himself. This mysterious focus on Leroy ensures it is only a matter of time before Leroy's mission to return home intertwines with the fight against the Top Dog. But just when Leroy Brown shows he may be the best hope Junk World has, his entire world threatens to collapse with devastating consequences. Next up is Homunculi, Eden by 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐢𝐚𝐥. This is a rather long back cover, so I'm only going to read a little bit of it. Forged from a taboo alchemical process and tainted magic, the newly made Six has neither a proper name nor a proper identity. A homunculi, neither human nor monster. Six's masters intend him and his fellows to be weapons and tools. While the homunculi around him excel in combat tactics and powerful magics, Six struggles with the most basic of abilities, only finding solace in the kitchen and the strange magical garden. Then we've got The Failed Technomancer by Boo Ludlow, Robot Cannibal Apocalypse Book 1. That is a crazy title. And a short back cover. With the world destroyed by insane man-eating robots, only technomancers stand between humanity and utter annihilation. Unfortunately, 64-bit might be the only technomancer who can't command robots with his mind. As an acolyte, he has managed to hide his shame, but then an army of hungry robots came marching right towards his home settlement. Hopelessly unprepared beyond the point that revealing his secret would do any good, 64-bit gambles everything on the slim chance that he might be able to wake his master from a coma before everyone is devoured. Three more. We've got Rider, Sorrows of Time by Richard Merle. Hundreds of years have passed since the time of elves and dwarves. The age of man has moved on, rejecting their existence as works of fiction. But there is a forgotten world that still crawls with ferocious beasts and vile magic. In the caverns and tunnels far beneath the city streets, armies wage war for power and land. The world and ours, destined to exist in parallel but never cross. There's a lot here, and I'm not going to go through it all, but yeah, looks good. Two more. We've got No, You're Crazy by Jeff Beamish. When 16-year-old Ashley Sutton's home life falls apart, she is beset by a rare mental illness that makes her believe she's clairvoyant. While most people scoff at her, she begins demonstrating an uncanny knack for sometimes predicting the future, using what could either be pure luck or something more remarkable. And when she helps her drug addict father win enough casino cash to accidentally overdose, she becomes the target of violent people determined to exploit her, and she goes on the run. Ashley reaches out to a distant relative, traumatized war journalist Mike Baker. Soon, at least in Ashley's eyes, they are both plunging dangerously into an existential rabbit hole where their core belief that humanity and personal connections are a blight will be put to the ultimate test. And finally, we have The Shadow of Theron. There we go. Age of Shadows, Book 1 by Catherine Troy. Read just a little bit of this here. Holy relics are all that remain of Theron's sacred land. Now those relics, the enchanted weapons forged by the three-faced goddess to help Theron defeat the wicked sorcerer Agros, are disappearing. Lysandro knows the village magistrate Merrick is responsible, and he searches for proof disguised as the masked protector into Shadow of Theron. But when Merrick wounds him with an accursed sword that shouldn't exist, Lysandro must find a way to stop Merrick from gaining any more artifacts created by the goddess or her nemesis. And there's more there, but it's pretty long. So that is it. Tomorrow I'm going to be coming out with my monthly TBR video, and I'm going to reveal who won the monthly TBR contest and open up the contest once again to see if you can most accurately predict the books that I am going to read based on ratings. And if you win twice, you get to pick a book for me to read and review. So check that out tomorrow. Hope you stick with it. And thanks for watching all of this video. And as always, happy reading to you. Thanks again to all my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier and Librarian tier patrons: Anna G, Brian, CJ, Darren, Jonathan, My Book is Lit, Nathan T, Nev's Book Channel, Ron Reich, Russell, Ryan L, Anna, Andra, Angelo, Ben, Blair, Brock, Evan, Fanixan, Harry B, Jamie, Jeff Pixler, Maria, Michael Sugarman, Sky, and Zion.